Okay, we're back from the closed session. City Attorney, was there reportable action tonight?
No reportable action.
And with that, we will adjourn the Selma City Council special meeting at 5:52, and we will reconvene at 6 p.m. for the Selma City Council regular meeting. All right. Welcome, everybody. It is 6 p.m. and we are in the Selma City Council chambers for our regular meeting on May 1st, 2023. We're at 1710 Tucker Street in Selma, California, 93662. The teleconference phone number, if you'd like to join us by phone, is 301-715-8592. The webinar ID, if you're online, is 891-6864-5005. When on the phone, if you wish to address the council during the public comment portion of the agenda, press *9 to raise hand, and we will select you from the meeting queue. Press *6 to unmute and mute yourself. Tonight's invocation will be led by Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day, and we just give you praise and glory for all that you've done for our city, all of the people that you've brought to our city. We pray today and we ask you for wisdom and understanding, and we ask that you just open up our minds and as we listen to what staff has prepared for us, and we just give you all honor and glory in your name, Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Call the roll, please, City Clerk.
Councilmember Guerra is absent. Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
Here.
Councilmember Trujillo.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho.
Here.
Mayor Robertson.
Here. Potential conflicts of interest. Any council member has a potential conflict of interest may now identify the item and recuse themselves from discussing and voting on the matter. Agenda changes or deletions to better accommodate members of the public in the order of presentation. Items on the agenda may not be presented or acted upon in the order listed. Additions to agenda may be added only pursuant to California Government Code Section 54954.2b. Oral communications. At this time, any member of the public may address the city council regarding any item over which the council has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will be taken on any item not on the agenda. Issues raised will be referred to the city manager for review. Members of the public are asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes and to direct their comments towards the city council. Do we have any oral communications at this time? Come on up, sir.
Jim Avila, 1701 Dinuba. Boy, you have to eat crow today. The reason why I'm back is today is the last council meeting. I made a comment and about the item on Nelson Boulevard on a trash situation, and I went back, and investigated. I should have did it the first time. They called me at the last minute. When residents call you and they can't make it, says, Avalos, can you go on my behalf? And I went in their behalf, and I should have investigated it. When I went and looked at it, the trash was cleaned up, and then I end up investigating, with the neighbors and everything, and come to find out, it was total mess. I don't blame the trash company for not picking it up. When you ask your neighbors around you, and I didn't do that. I apologize. I see they're here tonight. I'm apologizing right now for that's coming up here last time and making that comment to the council. So I'm rectifying it tonight on the record. Okay. So I should have known better about the trash company, because I apologize to the council for making that comments last council meeting. Thank you.
Hi, Leslie Nelson, 2413 Country Club Lane. I noticed that Waste Management is here tonight, and I just want to, on their behalf, speak up and just share my gratitude for their hard work and their involvement with our city and all the activities that we have. And also, their staff is some of the nicest people that I think I've ever met. Their drivers are always friendly, they wave, and we had an issue one time where the trash wasn't picked up, and then we just talked to them, and they said they were short on staff, like we all know happens. And another time something else happened and they were out there within the day to get things squared away. So on their behalf, I would like to say that I'm very thankful for our waste management.
Sure. Come on forward.
Evening, everyone. My name is Harvey Singh, and I'm here as a friend of the waste management people to talk about our particular experience at the temple. Obviously, we just went through a celebration of our parade a couple of weeks ago, and I'd be remiss if I didn't take time to certainly thank the mayor, all the council people, the council members, the related staff, the chief, police, chief of fire, EMS, and Fernando especially for working with us and making that a very positive experience for all of our people and helping us. So we didn't get a chance to say thank you last time. I'll say that right now, okay? Thanks to the city and for working with us on an annual basis. Now let's get back to the subject of waste management. Obviously, when we have an event that size, that's about 25,000 people in 3 days. Think about that. 25,000 people in 3 days in the size of an entire city in the scope of 3 days. Can you imagine the trash? And can you imagine all the logistics? But for the fact that they're very helpful, they're very organized, they're very pro with us. And also they give us some concessions, mind you, but they do a beautiful job of helping us manage our waste, and it doesn't become a blight on our part or on the city's part. So I'm in support of what they do and how they do it. And as Les, a good friend of mine, was saying, they're very nice people. They're very cordial people. They have some very good drivers, and they're very courteous when they come in and come out. And I don't know what the process is and what the city wants to do and what RFPs the cities want, and that's your prerogative. But I would say I would recommend them solidly, and I would recommend them highly for being kept on. They provide a good service to us, but if they provide that to us, not knowing us, they're going to provide that to everybody. They're going to do the same courtesy. They're going to extend. Certainly, there's an occasional disagreement, maybe so with the council, maybe with the citizenry, but that doesn't take away from the greater picture of what they do and how they solve the problems and how proactive they are and how helpful they are. And I would certainly urge that, if possible, maintain their services to the city. We certainly have their service in the rural area, and it's been always a very good experience with them. So with that said, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Singh. I just want to remind everybody that this is an agenda item. You have the right of free speech. You can say whatever you want during oral communications, but if you would like to make your comments maybe a little more pointed, if anyone has comments about waste management, you might want to hold them till the agenda item tonight. With that being said, does anyone else have any oral communications they would like to make at this time? Do we have anybody on the phone or online?
To the callers that I see on Zoom, please use your raise your hand feature and we will add you to the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll move on to our first special presentation, which is the introduction of new staff.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Very excited tonight to introduce quite a few new staff that we have coming on board to the city. So the first department head that will lead that introduction is our Deputy City Manager, Jasmine Baines.
Mayor, members of the council, we're very excited to introduce the new staff as we build our team. First, I would like to introduce Sheila Grant Schaefer, who's our newly hired grants manager. Sheila comes to us from Kings County, where she was a program specialist. And so we're really excited. She's going to be managing all of the city's grants within the finance department and creating a tracking mechanism for the grants we have. And then also as we go forward and apply for new grants, and she'll also be coordinating with the department heads in search of new grant funding opportunities. And I'm going to pass it over to Chief Peterson to introduce our next staff.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. It's my pleasure to introduce the city's newest human resources technician. And it might be strange for the fire chief to introduce HR staff, but I'm happy to do it because Vanessa Herrera has worked in our department for the last 3 years. She has been the fire department's administrative assistant for 3 years. She started as a part-time assistant, and where is Vanessa? There she is in the back. So she started with us in 2019 as a part-time admin assistant, and then came on as a full-time admin assistant, doing everything from EMS billing to fleet management. And she attained her bachelor's degree in business administration for Fresno State, finished that while she was working with us. And while we will miss her over at the fire department, Human Resources is getting a valuable asset. So thank you. All right, I'll do the next one then, as will be Vanessa's replacement over with us. Our admin assistant will be Samantha Sacita, and she's sitting right there. And Samantha is from Selma, graduated from Selma High School, and is currently going to Fresno State to get her bachelor's degree in psychology. So I'm a little nervous about that, but hopefully we don't give her too much case study over at the fire department. But we're happy to have her, and she's in her second week and has hit the ground running strong. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yes, Community Services also has new staff, but they have a presentation coming up during which they'll introduce. So I think that does it for new employees. Is that correct? Okay, that's all we have.
All right. Without further ado, we will move into our Community Services Department update.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am very excited today to bring you just a quick presentation that my two supervisors will be helping with. Just a little bit of an update in community services and also next steps in the future of our department. We've been very, very busy. And during that, first I will call up Liz, and she will also introduce her new team members within her division.
Let's pull this down a little bit. Good evening, everybody. I'm Liz Martinez. I'm the Recreation Supervisor for the city. So let's get started. There it is. Okay, so within our department, we do have two staff that I would like to introduce. So the first staff is going to be Jalissa Mercado. So she is our new recreation coordinator that started about, I'll let her explain. Come on, Jalissa, come on.
Good evening. My name is Jalissa Mercado. I'm the new recreation coordinator. I'm originally from Dinuba, California. And from my background, I previously come from organizing and helping like sports camps in the youth community. And also in the recreational level, I am heavily involved with the youth soccer as working at the games and help setting up the fields and like whatever they needed. What I'm most excited to bring for the city of Selma is more youth programs regarding like the sports. I would like to bring more sports back into the city and bring more adult leagues, because I feel like that's what the Valley is lacking. And I feel like we can really offer a lot with that. Thank you.
Okay, so the second staff that I would like to introduce is Miss Ruby Torres. She never got an official introduction when she first started. So Ruby has actually been working for the city for many, many years. But before Michael Kirchner left, he promised me to get me some assistance at the senior center. So Miss Ruby came on board in August of last year. So this is her official introduction. So Miss Ruby.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ruby Torres, and I am the Senior Center Coordinator. I was hired in August. So I've been here for 9 months. I'm from Selma. that way. And I'm also the unit director for Selma Boys and Girls Club. So I love doing the recreation events here. What I'm really excited about is working with the seniors, is doing more events with the seniors and just planning out things for them to bring even more life into their life, to bring more life into Selma. So it's fun.
All right, I'll continue with my presentation. I'm going to keep it really short and sweet. I have some wonderful pictures up if you can scroll down for me. So these are just some of the things that we provide as a community services and recreation department. So one of my favorite projects is the Adopt a Senior project. So we actually take community donations to create Christmas gifts for all of our seniors, and then we have a Christmas party. And so you'll see some of the great images from there. We get a lot of good sponsorships from our communities, community members, along with businesses. And so we're very blessed to have all the good support. You can keep going. Our senior trips are very popular in our senior center. So we actually get seniors from neighboring communities that will come to our senior center just to take our trips. And so we have partnered with FCRTA, and they do provide a bus for us as well at $5 senior. So that is a really affordable method of our transportation for our seniors. And they'll take us anywhere in Fresno County. So we typically go to Table Mountain Casino. And then we've also done trips like the Sugar Pine Railroad, and then we went to Pismo and Avila Barnes this past year. We do one overnight trip, so that one's coming up in October. They're actually going to Laughlin for 2 nights, 3 days. So if you guys would like some additional trips, if you'd like to travel with our seniors, we always have room on the bus. We can sit up to 54 people, so we have room. Oh, our senior activities. These are just some of the things that we do. So we've just actually implemented a Zumba class. So I have an instructor from Valley Fitness that comes in and teaches Zumba for our seniors on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Tuesdays at 10 a.m. So we do that along with our annual resource fair. This year we partnered with Adventist Health, and they sponsored our resource fair, and they were also doing the flu and the COVID-19 vaccines at our event. So that's a wonderful resource for our seniors. We also do volleyball, as you can see my seniors with the beach balls. So we play volleyball inside the senior center, and then we'll have dances and bingo and lunch every day. So yeah. And then co-ed softball. So I actually opened registration for co-ed softball today. So if anybody is interested in playing, that information is on our city website along with our Facebook page. And yeah, last year we had the most amount of teams. So we had never had as many teams as we did last year. So I'm really excited if we can beat that. We had 19 teams. So I had to use all 3 fields, and we had a big crowd out there. So it was really nice. T-ball. So our T-ball season is about to kick off in a few weeks. So our official opening day for T-ball is going to be May 16th. I have 11 teams registered to play with about 120 players. So we're really excited for that. Jalissa has been really good at helping me get this program started as I teach her all the ropes. And then, oh, we did pictures with the bunny. So this was one of our first projects that we did this year. So really exciting. We did it at the Selma Arts Center. Nicolette was really great to loan us her lobby, and we were able to take pictures of community members that came by. And so then we also had the bunny come out to the senior center, and I just wanted to share my favorite.
Who was the
picture.
bunny?
The bunny
Dressed up
is
as the bunny. Is that confidential?
It's very confidential.
Got it. All right.
Yes, I'm
Enough
so
said.
sorry. So the community.
I got it.
So the community
No.
actually got to vote on his name. So his name is now Hopper. So
Appropriate.
moving forward, his
Keep
name
it-
is Hopper.
keep it that.
And some goals for next year, I would love to, like Jalissa had mentioned, we would love to bring in new sports. We would love to do more community events. And so we're really hoping for everybody's support in that in the future. So any questions? Sorry, it's very confidential.
Thank you for coming on, for everything
Thank
that
you.
you do. You bring the
Absolutely.
heartbeat of Selma. It's so awesome to see that. to see everybody. And do we have any family members of the folks here tonight? Do we have any family members that have come out for the new employees of Selma? Anybody? Could you come forward and let us know who's with you?
Here in council, here with me tonight is my mom and my dad. My stepdad just left to the car, but that's who's here with me tonight. My husband and my kids couldn't make it, but they're always supporting me in everything that I do. And I want to thank them for supporting me in all my career adventures. And I would like to thank Chief for being such a supporting boss, encouraging, and just a good sounding board. He was my sounding board with
When I
everything. So
first
I'd
got
like
on council, my parents got to come here and see me sworn in. They're both passed away, but it was a great feeling. It was really nice. It's really nice to have that.
very lucky to be have support. Yeah.
Awesome. Good job. Good job, Mom and Dad. Stepdad. Great.
You got me? Okay, thank you. Hello, okay, it's my turn. So if you just want to go back to that first slide for me, please. So I'm Nicolette Anderson. I am the Selma Community Arts Center Supervisor. I have been with the city for about 17 years now, and I've had the pleasure of being the manager at the Art Center for the past 10. I'll be talking a little bit about the Art Center today, just some of the things that we've accomplished this year, some of the things we hope to accomplish. But just giving you a little backstory, the Selma Art Center is coming up to its 10-year anniversary. Thank you. 10-year anniversary. We are a performing venue. We house the Adult Community Theater, the SAC Teen Company, and our CKP, our Cool Kid Player Youth Performing Arts Program. So over the years, we've created a name for ourselves as being one of the top theater companies in the Valley. We are known for bringing talented actors from both the North and South Valley. We've performed several Valley premieres, and we are seen into the community as a diverse and inclusive and forward-thinking community entity. So that's something to definitely be proud of. So I have a couple words up there: equity, inclusion, community. Those are just some of our goals. They are also some of our most frequently asked questions when we are applying for grants. So we try to make ourselves as marketable as possible. So going forward with those, the ways that we show some of these key points is by offering, and I'm going to read these out because it's a lot. We offer visual voices, which is an ASL interpretation performances for a majority of our performances, closed captioning for our online productions, ensure equal opportunities for casting, create a safe space for gender expression. We host school performances for our family productions, having at least one cultural-based production each year, and reaching out to our local community groups such as Boys and Girls Club, Chamber of Commerce, Selma Drama Club, and more. So I'm just going to read our little mission for you really quickly. The Selma Arts Center strives to enrich the lives of our people who pass through our doors by leading a culturally diverse collective of local artists who provide quality theater and artistic experiences for the community at large. Home to dramatic, visual, literature, musical arts, the Selma Arts Center works to create experiences that are inspirational, educational, and of the highest caliber. We are proud to provide a variety of programming that reflects the diversity interests of the community that we serve. We can go next. So, how's our year going? So those are just some of the things that we have accomplished this past year. You'll see some of our accomplishments. We had a lot of sold out, a lot of wonderful critics that come out and gave us some great reviews. So some of the things that we have accomplished this fiscal year alone has been 16 successful events and fundraisers, including 2 musical family musicals, our cultural-based production of Oedipus El Rey, that coincided with a poetry night where we welcomed Fresno Poet Laureate Lee Herrick. We had a dance concert with local choreographers performing original dances. We had a redemption concert with Valley-known bands. We had a holiday cabaret, a paint and sip night, our first D&D night, which was
actually very successful, and there's a huge following for it. We worked with Fresno localized gaming stores for promotions and offered donations. And then we had our biannual SACA's Awards Gala where we awarded actors and designers for their hard work.
D&D.
Yes, sorry. Dungeons and Dragons. So the movie's out right now, so that'll kind of give you reference. But it's actually, there's a huge
Right.
following and it's also artistic. So we're exploring all areas. So we also successfully made it onto the Donald Monroe's top 20 cultural events of 2022. Not only for one, but 3 of our productions. So going over to a program that is very near and dear to me. So this all really starts here with our CKP and our SAC team. So this one is very close to me, is where I started with the city. It is a program that has been developing for a very long time. Cool Kid Players is a sign up program. It ranges from ages 6 to 17. It is a school, it's a full scale production with lighting, sound, costumes, and audience. We treat it like a class. We use it to develop skills in auditions, communication skills for our kids. We also have designer opportunities for our youth and students. And this is one of our longest running programs that has grown immensely. We use, we have signups that range to about 60 participants per show. And our summer production of Moana had about 75 participants. Still didn't beat our Frozen, which was around 90, but it came pretty close. So, and then going over to our SAC, well, here is also some pictures from our SAC team productions. This is something that came about in the last couple of years where we decided to bridge the gap from both the kids to the adults and add a team program. So we do about, we do one program a year, and then there is also workshops. And this year, the kids got the opportunity to take a field trip to see a major production come from Moy in Sacramento. And some of those kids had never seen a actual full-scale professional theater performance before. So that was really fun. And then lastly, just a couple of things that are coming up, some things that we're looking forward to in the future. We have a Valley premiere coming up called On Your Feet. It is the story of Emilio and Gloria Esteban. We feel that that is going to be a big success for us. It's going to be the first time that this valley has seen it. In other valleys, I believe Bakersfield did it not too long ago. It was a huge success for us, so we're really looking forward to that production. Plus, it's a lot of fun. Who doesn't like Gloria Esteban? Then we have Next to Normal, which is coming up fairly soon. This actually deals with mental health and family. And Selma Originals, which is a series of original plays submitted from writers from all over the valley. So that is, oh, and a couple of other little fundraisers that are coming up. And Mean Girls, oh gosh, this is a secret. I just realized I put that up there. We haven't announced our next season, but Mean Girls will be our SAC team production coming up soon. So
We won't tell anybody.
okay. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. First of all, thank you, team. You guys did a phenomenal job. It was important for me as a director to start to empower my team, to get to showcase all of the really cool things that they get to do. I'm lucky. I hear it every day. I get to be around it. So it was really fun to ask my team to kind of put together their own presentations, put their own spin on it. So I'm very proud of you guys. You guys did a phenomenal job. Mine is slightly less cool. I'm not going to lie. Mine's a little more technical. Again, my name is Amy. For those that might not know me, I am the Community Services Director here for the City of Selma. The Community Services Department is broken down into several divisions. And if you look to the left of the screen, you'll see cultural arts, parks, recreation, senior services, special events, and sports are some of the divisions that we have here in our city. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we have been working on behind the scenes, or that I have been working on behind the scenes, is now that we are starting to grow, we're starting to grow our team, we're starting to ask for more money in our budgets. We have a responsibility to ensure that we're doing all of these things both fiscally responsibly and also to benefit our entire community as a whole. So these are, in everything that I do, I like to think of puzzle pieces. Every little puzzle piece fits together. So this is the 4 steps that we're currently in our department that I am currently going through as the director. And the very first one is research and development. And we'll get into the next ones in a minute, but next slide, please. So what is research and development? So we know that we have a lot of needs within our community. We know that we have a lot of programs that we need to grow and all of these things. But before we can start to do that, we really need to redo our research and find out what is out there, what other communities are doing as things have changed post-COVID. Are we meeting the needs of our community? They might not have been the same as they were prior to COVID. So these are the areas that we are currently as a team looking at. And the first is going to be inventory. And we're talking about all of our assets, our equipment, our playgrounds, our parks, anything that we have in house, our buildings, our facilities, our ball fields. These are all inventory that we have that we need to do a little bit better at keeping really extensive lists on the condition of everything. So we're currently going through that. I'm working with Public Works to make that happen, just so that we can start to get an idea of what kind of maintenance is needed into the future. How can we be more proactive instead of reactive in how we handle things? And then researching our demographics. Who do we serve? It's incredibly important that if we are going to design events, that we take the time to actually know who we are serving. And so we're going to do that by getting out there. These are attending events, doing different things like that to really get out there and meet our community. It's also finding funding. There are many different ways that we can find funding out in the community or out in the world. And so how are we going to get funding into the future? Have we identified those things? Have we earmarked things? Are we planning appropriately? These are all things that are incredibly crucial to our next steps. And then staffing. For me, it's been the last few months since I've been brought on is really just getting to know my team. Where are their talents? Where do they excel? What is their capacity? We want to do all of the things, but it's not possible, right? We have a limited staff. So we really got to look at the capacity. And then training. Training is incredibly important for our teams and ensuring that they are up to date in policies and procedures and all of the things that are out there, industry standards. So you'll hear me talk a lot about training into the future. And then finally, policy, procedures, and fees. And these are not necessarily the fun stuff, but these are the things that we need to consider. Several of our policies and procedures are a little outdated. So we really need to get back in there and see what we're doing. Are we catching up with the times? What does our fee structure look like? What do our user agreements look like? These are all things that we're in review stage right now. Again, having worked my prior job, I was with Department of Defense for over 10 years. Working alongside of the military, you really get to learn how to be strategic about how you do things. We don't want to just run when we don't have all of these things in place. Next slide, please. All right, so this is the community engagement piece. This is the fun piece. This is the different people, the different groups that we get to go out there and get to talk to bring all of this together. So community, obviously, through focus groups, info booths, and social media. Getting out into where our people are is incredibly important. So you'll start to see info booths. We've ordered new canopies. You'll start to see community services as a whole at things like the Cal Water Festival, all these different things that are coming up in the next few months. You'll start seeing our people out there. We'll also be at playgrounds during busy times to talk to the families that are playing, out with the pickleballers, asking them their questions. What do they want to see moving forward? And then utilizing social media. In addition to that, we've got to start really working with our partners to understand what their needs are. And that's schools, businesses, service clubs, Chamber of Commerce. Again, just getting their feedback and understanding where they're at, where their needs are, and where they are moving forward. And then obviously with our stakeholders, our commissions, our advisory boards, city staff, and city council. These are all stakeholder conversations that will need to happen more frequently and more regularly. However, we're still in that kind of research and development stage. And when we're ready to really engage with some of these stakeholders, have a really good idea of what the community needs so that the stakeholders can help us make things happen. Because obviously we can't do it without the stakeholders' help. And then last but not least is the media. We have got to do better at communicating who we are, what we're doing out in the community. And this is through TV, social media, newspaper, you name it. We've got to get better at communicating our vision, our values, and our efforts. Everybody's going to tell our story. We need to be telling our story as well. So that is kind of a look at some of the groups that we're beginning to involve in these communications. Next. All right, so I go back to this. So what's next? Obviously, we're in the research and development. as we build that, we will come into visions and goals and then recommendations. Recommendations is when the commissions and the stakeholders really come into play, because that's when we really need to get everything together, secure the funding and move forward. And then finally implementation. And that is hitting the ground running. And that I anticipate will take a few months. Obviously, it's been a few months that we've been working on this. We want to do this the right way. But when we're ready to run, we know that we have everything in place to hit the ground running with some of these plans. Whether it's infrastructure, whether it is playground replacement, all of those different things that we've been working on and programming. All right, so to basically our entire mission here at the city is together we are building Selma into a place of prosperity, unity, and strength. And I'm excited that my team is here. They do a phenomenal job of bringing all of those together. And I couldn't be more blessed as a director to have inherited such an amazing team. Last slide. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Council have any questions for the director? Anybody from the community? Anybody online or on the phone? Got a couple questions.
Go.
One, can we have that presentation tonight for each council member?
Absolutely. It is prepared to hit send as soon as I exit the stage.
Thank you. Exit stage left.
Yes.
Number two, we've had summer swim for years,
Yes.
about 10 years. Are we continuing that with Swim America and Lori Cladd at the Selma High School, or?
Yes. So Liz and I are in communication on how we can move forward with that program to the best of our ability. Absolutely.
Great.
We will have more for you probably at the next council meeting, I would imagine.
So a Kingsburg council member that I serve on a board with, Brandon Purcell, he's a lieutenant in the sheriff's department, and he's going to be coming to all the cities and saying, he's asking the cities and the school districts to provide lower rates for pool access this year, because the rivers and the canals are really, really dangerous, even more dangerous. And so anything that the city or the school can do to promote and encourage pool usage instead of canals, right? And the river, I think is a really good thing. And I think the pool swim that the Selma partnership with the high school has offered for years in the healthcare district has been a really good thing. So I'm really happy to hear
Absolutely.
this.
And yeah, if you want to pass on my contact information, I'd love to meet with him and just discuss the marketing piece of it as well, because we can assist with that, at least on our end.
I mean, you just heard tonight, they found somebody in the canal. It's just really dangerous to go near that. All right. That's enough for me. Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Thank you very much. Really good presentation. And thank you, everybody, for coming out. All right, we'll move on now to our consent calendar. All items listed under consent calendar category are considered routine. The complete consent calendar will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote. For purposes of discussion, any council member may have an item removed from the consent calendar or made part of the regular agenda. The council can then approve the remainder of the consent calendar. Do any council members have any items they would like removed from the consent calendar tonight?
Nope.
Is there anybody from the public? They have any consent calendar items they would like removed? Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar items 1 through 8 tonight?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. On to regular business, consideration of a resolution regarding the Highland and Rose Street improvements and project bids.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Our city engineer, David Horn, will address this matter. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This item refers to a street improvement project at Highland and Rose, specifically the northwest corner of that intersection. Back in 2020, the Highland Rose Limited Partnership went into an agreement with the city for their development, and the agreement in summary explains that the city is agreeing to do street improvements, and the developer is agreeing to do some curbs, gutters, and sidewalks for their development. So throughout 2022, the plans were prepared by the developer's engineer, RW Greenwood. Those plans were reviewed and approved by Caltrans because the improvements are within Highland, which is State Route 43. Those plans, once they were approved by Caltrans issued an encroachment permit for that work. And the city went ahead and put those plans out for public bid. They were bid in January January 18th, they went out to bid. February 17th was when we opened the bids. But during that process, we reached out to the Highland Rose development and asked to meet and offered to include what's called an ad alternate to that bid. The base bid for the project was based on the improvements that the city was agreed to do in the agreement. The ad alternate that we discussed with the developer was to include a set of bid items that were specific to their set of plans that are stated to be done by developer. Those ad alternate bid items were then sent out for the public bid to allow the contractors that were bidding on this project to include bids for the pieces that would be done by the developer. The strategy behind that and the discussion was hopefully the contractor that was bidding on the entire project could include those as an ad alternate, provide a cost. It was completely then up to the developer to review those bids for the lowest bidder on the base bid and have an option to include that or not include that. There was no obligation to the developer that he had to include those ad alternates. And that's the purpose of an ad alternate, is that the city has the option to include that in the contract or not. In February, the public bid opening was done. There were 6 bids received. The apparent low bidder was Avison Construction. The totals are there in a staff report. Election for the public bid is based on the base bid. The ad alternate is an option for that lowest bidder. After the bid opening, we reached out to the developer to discuss the ad alternate costs of what was provided in the public bid opening as their option to pay for those ad alternate costs. And so since that time, we've been working with the developer as whether or not they would be willing to pay for those costs through this public bid. At the time of preparing the staff report, we had not received a written agreement from the developer whether or not they were willing to pay for that ad alternate cost. So we've prepared 2 resolutions. One, if the developer is willing to pay for those costs, then we have a recommendation to accept the lowest bidder with both the base bid and ad alternate with a written agreement that the developer would pay for that ad alternate. And just as of today, we received a letter from the developer stating that they are not willing to pay for the ad alternate cost, which was the option that we gave them. So my recommendation at this point, without that agreement to pay for the ad alternate costs, would be to reject all of the bids from this public bid opening. Reason for that recommendation is that in the agreement that was made between the city and the developer, there's an agreement that the curbs, gutters, and sidewalks would be done first, and that both parties would agree to coordinate the work together. And once those curbs, gutters, and sidewalks are constructed, then the street improvements can be done by the city. So my recommendation at this point would be to reject all of the public bids, continue to work with the developer according to our agreement, that at such time that they have a contractor, have a schedule, are working with Caltrans as far as the encroachment permit, and that work has started or has gotten to a certain point that we can then open the bids up again and go out to bid for the base bid only and coordinate with them according to our agreement to then do the street improvements on the city's responsible side at that time. So that's my recommendation before you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Great. Thank you for your report. Does council have any questions for Mr. Horn tonight? Okay, with that, we'll open it up to the public. I believe we have the developer here.
I first request that I can speak more than 3 minutes. Is that approved?
As the developer, is council okay with a little extra latitude? Okay.
Thank you. Okay. First, Lewis Nelson and Sons is an A1 contractor and a B1 contractor. We're fully qualified to do the concrete curb and gutter work as anticipated previously that we would do that. In a meeting on January 31st, 2023, I met with Brandon, and I believe Dave, if I'm not mistaken, at their office, along with our engineer, Matt Greenwood. In that meeting, we were told that there would be a base bid going out, and there was no mention initially of any alternate bid. I explained during the meeting that our intention would be to build this concrete curb gutter and sidewalk ourselves, because if the bid is awarded by the City of Selma, the contractors have to pay prevailing wage. If the concrete curbs and gutters are completed by someone like me, which is for my own property, I do not have to comply with prevailing wage. Therefore, the cost of the work that's going to be performed by us will be less than what it would be if the city was to pay to have the work done. In the discussion, it was talked about, well, why don't you do an alternate bid and see what the contractor that's bidding the base bid, what he would charge for the work? And they agreed they would do that. But at no time were we told then or this morning when I talked with Dave and Brandon, is a developer required to pay for alternate one at all? So the alternate one is something that was added as an add alternate bid to the bidding process. The city's work is covered by the base bid. The add alternate bid is work that is, according to Mr. Horn, to be covered by the developer, which is me. So I sent a letter to the city this morning. I didn't say I wasn't going to do alternate one. I didn't say that at all. I said, we're going to do the work ourselves. That's what I originally intended to do. That's what I've done when we built the P. Soup Anderson development. And I installed the curb and gutter and the sidewalk for Caltrans on Highway 43, the intersection at Stillman and Highway 43. All that work was done by Lewis Nelson and Sons with its subcontracting group. That's what I intend to do here. And I made it very clear in the written agreement, which each one of you received a copy of, we're going to perform the concrete curb and gutter work. Mr. Horn, and I'm not trying to put him down, said, you got to do that concrete curb and gutter work and sidewalk work first. That is not true. That's not true at all. What first has to be done is the concrete curb and gutter work has to be done first. Once that's done, then the road work can proceed. You don't do the sidewalk behind the concrete curb and gutter until utilities are installed in that right of way. So as a subdivision contractor, you install the concrete curb and gutter first, and Mr. Horn will tell you that. Utility companies come in after, and they install the electric lines, the conduits for cable TV, for telephone, other utilities, go in the space between the concrete curb and gutter and the outside edge of the sidewalk. Am I correct? Thank you. That's how it's done. So what would happen is your concrete curb and gutter crews would go in, develop the concrete curb and gutter. That's the perimeter of the west side of Highway 43. Avison, that is the name of the company, would come in and do all the road work. After the road work's all done, then we would come back in with PG&E to put in the underground conduits, the street lighting that may be required. And once that's done, then as our development develops, we would install the sidewalk. You don't install the sidewalk before you develop your subdivision or your main property, because of all the utility connections that have to take place with the utilities that are inside the sidewalk area. So as we build our building, which we plan to build the new Hyundai building in that first lot, once that building is built, we will then put in the hardscape, city sidewalk, our sidewalks, irrigation systems, landscaping, site lighting, etc. And the sidewalk would be the last thing that goes in. That's how we do it. I've said in the agreement that I wrote and gave you, all of you now, that I'm doing that. That's our responsibility. It's not the city's. I'm doing that work. Would you agree, Mr. Horn?
Okay.
So that, I just want to make it clear. So rejecting the bids makes no sense at all because I'm going to go forward. Genesis has told us, that's a car line that we have. We're the only Genesis dealer between Los Angeles and Sacramento. And we have a body of people that own and drive Genesis cars. And they come to Selma. They come from Bakersfield, Tulare, Paso Robles, from the Sierra Nevadas, from up above Modesto. They come to our dealership to buy the cars and have the cars serviced. Genesis wants its own building. And they made it very clear they don't want to be dueled with Hyundai anymore. So our plan is to leave Genesis in the current Hyundai Genesis building and to build a new building right next door for Hyundai. Originally, going back 4 or 5 years ago, the idea was to bring Caliber Collision to Selma. That plan, because it's taken 5 years to get us here today, that plan along the way, I did not want to disclose who my tenant was going to be, which was Caliber. And I was told back 3 years ago by Teresa, you know, to get that agreement you want, you're going to have to disclose who you're going to bring in here. And I disclosed it at that time reluctantly that I was bringing in Caliber Collision, a national collision repair company. Unfortunately, as that got passed around the community and as the delays continued through not anybody's fault, but COVID and everything else that was going on the past 3 years, my tenant was lost. And it was lost to the Stramian family, who decided to put Genesis into the empty car building across the street from Farney Ford. So one door closes, another door opens. And the factory comes in from Hyundai and says, look, we want another building. If I don't build this new building for Hyundai, you're going to lose one of those factories. You're going to lose either Genesis or you're going to lose Hyundai because they want to have separate buildings. That's why we're doing this. I reached out to the chamber and received zero help. I reached out to the council and I go, you guys really need to help us here. I'm doing what I agreed to do 3 years ago. I'm not changed that. And to be quite honest, it's upsetting that Mr. Horn says if he doesn't accept to do the work of alternate one, if he doesn't accept to pay for it, then we should cancel the bids. And that is absolutely nuts. I never have the responsibility to buy that alternate. I have the responsibility to put in the curb and gutter, and I'm going to do that. And I gave you my absolute assurance in that agreement that I gave you today. I'm doing that work. I'm not going to pay prevailing wage for doing this work. I'm going to pay non-prevailing wage, which is allowed. And as long as I do all the insurance requirements that are in that October 19, I believe, agreement, I have insurance requirements, I have bonding, all different kinds of requirements that the city has given us. The city attorney, Neil Costanzo, made that agreement. The council approved that agreement. Teresa signed that agreement. And we signed that agreement. I'm asking you to please, let's go forward and get this Hyundai building built. We're doing the concrete curb and gutter. I put it in writing. Let's go, please. And I'm willing to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Does council have any questions for Mr. Nelson at this time?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. Okay, we'll bring the matter back to council. Is there any council discussion at this point? Okay, we'll take it back to the public. Does public have any additional comments?
Jim Avila, 1701 Dinuba. I was going to speak on one item, but all I got to say, Dwight, brings a lot of revenue to the state, into the city of Selma over the years. And over the years, I know sometimes I may not agree with his, his issues sometimes, but I do respect him. Okay, guys, he does bring revenue for the city of Selma. He wants to expand. He's from Selma. He's part of the community. He's bringing revenue for the city of Selma's growth. He's bringing tax dollars. He's stepping to the plate to fix it. He's actually going to, on his property, he's going to do it. And in the past, we did an agreement with him, and we have to hold ourselves to this agreement. And sometimes, hey, the way it's got to be. Honestly, let's do it, guys, up there. We're holding up tax dollars. This guy wants to jump on it right now and move. And why delay any of our tax dollars to come back to City of Selma that can help the Arts Center, the seniors, the community, the law enforcement, the fire, the police, equipment, something like this, to help the city of Selma grow. Make our town who we are. We don't make it into a blight. This gentleman can just pack up his dealership and go somewhere else. He has that power, but he doesn't do that because he loves his town. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Teresa Sala, 1701 Dinuba Avenue. I think that the presentation that Mr. Nelson gave is very informative. We know that he is a developer, but he's also built homes. He's done a lot of other things besides the auto mall here in our community. So we know that he is capable of fulfilling his word to put in the streets, the gutters, the sidewalks, the things that he's committed to for his property. And I agree that he has brought a lot of revenue to the city with the auto mall. And this is just expanding what he's doing now. And I would like for the council, I agree that the council should accept the bids and approve that resolution and leave him to do the work that he is committed to already for the city.
Anybody else with a comment?
Leslie Nelson. Everyone knows Dwight's my brother-in-law, and he's an outstanding developer. I think what he wants to do is follow the rules of what everyone is wanting him to do. And I just feel that he's just trying to bring things better for Selma. And I love the guy. He's a hard worker and he's a great developer. And I think we should move forward with the project.
Anybody else? Okay.
1057 Mill Street, Rose Robertson. Not only has the auto mall and Mr. Nelson with this development brought much revenue, there's also a lot of jobs that the Selma residents depend on. They need to continue to feed their families, and with the recession just peaking and coming very soon, we don't need these people to lose their jobs because we can't have somebody fulfill something that they're willing to do. So take into consideration people's jobs as well and feeding their families. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody on the phone? Online?
As a reminder to the caller that I see on Zoom, please use your raise your hand feature and we will add you to the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, I see no hands raised at this time.
Thank you. I'd just like to say I agree with all the speakers tonight. Mr. Nelson is his companies are top sales tax generator in our town. He's been a pillar of our community. He built the Arts Center that we just talked about before. I don't think any of that is in question tonight. I think that when I've looked at it, what I've seen it is an order of operations. So from what I understand from the professionals, the street can't be built until the curbs, gutters and sidewalks are built. Is that correct, Mr. Horn? Curbs and gutters have to be built. Sidewalks can be built after that. But as you mentioned, Mr. Nelson, because the utilities have to go in under them, but curbs and gutters have to go in first. So from what I understand, again, from the professionals, is curbs and gutters have to go in first. That job has to be completed first. That job has to be bid first. That has to go. Then the city would go out to bid for the street project and get bids for that. So I would not see a rejection of the bids, the current bids tonight, as a rejection of the job. Quite the opposite. I would see it as an affirmation of the order of operations, which is your part first, which you're going to provide, because you're not going to do it at prevailing wage. You can do it presumably for a better rate, for a better cost, which is your part. And then at the same time, or concurrently or shortly thereafter, when the city is reasonably assured that, that's going to happen, that the curbs and gutters are going in, then that bid process can happen again. And I think, where our role ends as a council is, for the details to be figured out as to when that reasonable assurance takes place, that the curbs and gutters are either on their way or going to be completed fairly soon, so that the city can do its work and get that bid on the roads again.
Okay, so you have a bid for the street work now. And I've been told by your attorney, through my attorney, that if you don't accept the bids now and the bids come in higher later on, I would be responsible for the increased cost. And that's not how you do this work. You have two contractors that are going to be working on this project. The first one is me to install the curb and gutter. And we will do that. If you want me to post a $150,000 bond, a $200,000 bond to guarantee that, I'll do that. After the curb and gutter goes in, his contractor then goes to work. It's that simple. I don't want
I
to
think
delay
that's
this
the key,
anymore.
right? Getting that paperwork and getting that agreement down with the city, that the bond is posted and all those
But
details come.
But you don't want to reject the bid.
But
You
from
want
what
to
I,
award the base, you want to award the base bid.
not to interrupt you, I don't mean to interrupt you, sir.
right.
I don't mean to be impolite, but just to finish my point, from what we understand, the bid is no good anymore, effective 12:01 a.m. May 2nd. So that bid goes away tonight. So I think that bid is done anyway. If the city is looking for that reasonable assurance that the curbs and gutters, unless you guys can hammer out a legal agreement, get it bonded and notarized in about 5 hours, that bid goes away and it's going to have to be rebid anyway. So
I've got a checkbook in my car. You want me to go get a checkbook and write you a check for $200,000? I'm going to tell you something, Mayor. You've got two people that are causing a problem. There shouldn't be a problem. And Dave will tell you, when we met on January 31st, the only thing they were going to do was put out a base bid. And at my suggestion, I said, why don't you find out on an alternate what these guys would charge you prevailing wage? If it comes in fairly reasonable, we'll go ahead and do that, but it didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and do the concrete curb and gutter work with my people, my subcontractors. We'll get that work done. You want a $200,000 bond? I'll give it to you right now. You want a $300,000 city attorney? I'll give you a $300,000 check right now. What do you want? I don't want you to give away that other contractor's bid because I believe it's a good bid, a low bid. Don't throw it away. If I don't perform the work, cash my check. Cash my check now and hold the money.
Just to be clear, I want to address, I never stated that Mr. Nelson would be responsible for the increased bid cost. It's the city's obligation to do that work regardless of what the cost is.
it's the city's cost to do that work, right? Regardless of what the bid cost is.
Correct.
Okay.
Mayor, do you realize it's taken 3 years after signing that agreement? And now, I don't want to make any of you mad at me, John, but I'm going to tell you something. You guys have played this game, and I'm going to be honest, so let me talk. I feel like I need to. You played this game, and it's not you. It's the two people at the end of the dais, and it's not right. You want me now to put the curb and gutter in, And then what assurance do I have that you're going to do the road work? What assurance do I have that you're going to do the road work?
Right, so wouldn't that be
Took
part of
3
the
years.
legal
Took 3
process,
years.
right, between the city and Mr. Nelson to put it, make it ironclad in writing that both are gonna happen once the curb and gutter goes in, that road has to go in, or there would be legal repercussions. I just don't think they're there yet, Dwight. I don't think they're there yet, in terms of
And
the agreement.
okay, and I apologize for this, okay, because I've asked politely, can we please get together and talk and get this ironed out?
Yeah.
And the city attorney said,
Just keep it between us, Dwight.
you got this, look,
Look,
I've been doing a lot of work in Selma for the past 40 years. And I don't have to stand up here and tell you about it because you've all seen it. Dave Horn will tell you that the base bid can be awarded. And if I'm responsible for installing the curb and gutter, which I am, they can work together with me for me to get the curb and gutter in. And within 30 days, I'll have the curb and gutter in.
and I think they're gonna do that. I think that's what's gonna happen, right? That's the point.
Not if you throw out the bids, you
No.
have to rebid the project.
Well, yeah, that
Then-
has to,
Then what if the bids come in too high?
the city's gonna pay the additional costs on those bids, but it's also gonna have the assurance that you're gonna put the curb and gutter in. They just
I'll
want the order
post
of
the bond.
operations.
I'll post a performance bond.
And that's all gonna happen. So I mean, I think
I
that
can do it
that's
before
part of
12
the-
o'clock tomorrow, whatever time your deadline is.
Okay.
Award your base bid. I'll give you whatever you want. You tell me what you want and I'll give it to you.
So
Explain the reason why not, Fernando. Explain the reason why not.
just keep it between us. So
Well, he's your
with-
city
with the-
manager and he's the one that started this.
I get it, but we're having a discuss with the city council meeting. We'll get there. But at this point tonight, the decision in hand is the bid and what to do with this bid right now with Addison.
Award the base bid. Simple,
And-
plain and simple.
And the recommendation is to reject the bids so that you can do the curb and gutter. And that the city rebids the job and does the street, but has reassurances both ways legally that that job's gonna take place. Now, I have a question for the city manager. Could some discussions take place with Mr. Nelson on a fairly expedited basis so that this can happen as soon as possible? Because he makes a very good case, and I think the city makes a very good case that there have to be mutual assurances here. Can that happen on an expedited timeframe?
Absolutely. Our goal is to go out to bid as quickly as possible after we know that Mr. Nelson has his part of the project under contract and has made significant progress towards that construction.
Okay. And how long does it take to generally go out to rebid a
I think
project?
a rebid process, since we already have the bid package together, it won't take long at all. It'll just be a matter of changing the dates on the package, keeping it open for about 4 weeks, and then we can bring it back to council with the updated bids.
Okay. So does that
I
sound?
don't make you
reasonable?
mad at me. I do not trust your city manager. I tried to meet with him over a month ago. I said, let's get this resolved. There's some problems. Let's get it resolved. And he refused to meet and try to get it resolved. This morning, when none of you would talk to me because you weren't allowed to, I went to Dave Horn's office at 8 o'clock before he got there. So when he walked in the door, I was there waiting. I said, guys, let's sit down and talk. Let's sit down and talk. And I said, can I not go ahead and do this work? I don't have to do the alternate bid. They said, you're right, you don't have to. The city can award the base bid. And if you're doing the alternate work, that's fine. You have every right to do that. Now tonight he's telling me you should reject the bid. Why? Because somebody's talked to him and told him that's what somebody on the council or somebody the city manager wants to do? It doesn't make any sense. Does it, Dave?
Okay.
Come on,
so-
well, I asked for the meeting and this lady would not allow us to meet for over 6 weeks, would not allow us to meet with anybody.
I got you.
So
I
is it,
understand.
is
Can you-
it true that you could award the base bid?
Let's keep it back here, Dwight. Let's keep it with the city council because we're having a city council meeting. So I think we're kind of spinning our wheels here. I
Then
think
make
you
a
hear the
decision to
concerns.
award the base bid and make a decision, Dwight Nelson to post a bond for any amount of money you want, and I'll post it, and I guarantee you that damn curb and gutter will be in.
And I would want to make a motion to make sure that there is expedited, if the city council rejects the bids, that there is an expedited effort to work with Mr. Nelson and his group to make sure that that bid process has gone through again, and it gives you time to do your curb and gutter work. And then the city, that is the expectation here. And there are legal requirements back and forth in writings to ensure performance on both parties. It just is it's a way of making sure that both you as a developer and the city as the one that awards the street project fulfill their obligations. And we're all here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be watching. We're going to be driving 43 watching, and we all want you to succeed. I mean, you've got a great dealership operation, but this is the way it's going because it's the order of operation. So it's not a no on the job at all. It's just a reformatting of it so that it can be done in a way that guarantees performance by both parties. And yes, it's taken 3 years, taken way too long, but now is now. Let's get going. Let's move forward. Let's reject the bids tonight if that's what council decides to do, the majority. Next day or two, you hammer out an agreement with the city with your part and then the city's part in writing and move forward and do this and get this done ASAP because it can be done.
Is Dwight Nelson required to install the curb, gutter, and sidewalk? Yes or no?
You're not required, right? It is your choice, and you have indicated tonight that it is your choice to do that.
I have a contract with the city that says that, Mayor. I have a contract with the city that says that's what I'm supposed to do.
Okay. Then that's
listen, we could have had this discussion a long time ago. And I have two people up there that would not allow it to happen. So tonight, since I'm here, is that what I'm required to do or not? Please, somebody tell me. That way I'll know that I can trust you. Because if you go out of here tonight without that being firmly established, I guarantee you there's going to be a problem.
okay. And that's going to happen in the contract negotiation. That's going to be hammered out further with Mr. Nelson after tonight. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, I don't think there's any, I think the city's always been clear that Mr. Nelson is required to install curb and gutter. Where the issue arose was whether he had a dispute with the city as to whether he had to extend that to Rose Avenue. And that's ultimately where the dispute arose. And that's the issue that the city needs to be assured of happens before it can move forward with its portion of the project. And your guys' rejection of the bids tonight does not prevent him from moving forward in any way. It should not delay the project in any way. It'll allow him to do his portion of the curb and gutter, and then we'll step in and do our portion. And I don't think me, city manager, or anyone up here intends to go back on our obligations under the agreement and not move forward with the construction of the street improvements.
Yeah, because I'm getting the feeling everybody wants it. Everybody wants your success. Everybody wants.
Is the city attorney saying that the October 19th, 2020 agreement is what I am required to do?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
And no more. Nothing else is going to be added on. That's what I'm required to do.
Right, but we're going to
But
move.
listen, please.
Okay, but we're going to move forward after this tonight.
I know,
we're here
but
to
you-
do the
you-
bid and then
Mayor,
you guys get
believe
together
me.
and do this.
Believe me, you have to have her tell us this. You have to.
Mr. Nelson, this isn't a court hearing. I am not on interrogation right now. I've told you my perspective of the project and what the city's intentions are and what I've advised them moving forward.
And that's what
Um,
I understand. I understand that what we're doing tonight is we're just saying that the order of operations is going to be for curb and gutter first that you handle. And then for the street that the city handles with the legal requirements in writing after this that get hammered out after this meeting ASAP so this can get done. That's the extent of what we're here to do tonight. So we're just going to keep spinning our wheels.
One last question.
Okay.
There's an October 19, 2020 agreement. I signed it. We signed it in good faith. The city signed it in good faith. I just want assurance that the city or the people that you have running the city right now Don't try to change that agreement. That's all I ask.
Okay, I'm not,
That's fair.
I'm not aware that that they're gonna change that agreement, or I'm not aware that of the actual details of that agreement, because what we're here to decide tonight is, again, the curb and gutter goes in first, but I'm sure that that agreement's gonna be the reference point. So I just don't get the sense that, from my perspective here, Dwight, as a businessman and as a council member and mayor elected by the people, that city doesn't want you to get this done. We all want to work together on this. This is just an order of operations thing. So we're kind of spinning our wheels here. It's 7:15. I appreciate everything you've said. I understand. If council doesn't have any additional words, I'm going to ask for a motion so we can move forward on this.
I just like to,
Okay.
I just like to reiterate that this October 19th, 2020 adoption resolution that was approved was also approved with the accordance of Caltrans. And they dictated and they wrote exactly what it meant. It meant the agreement includes language for both parties. Understand and agree it's necessary that the city of Selma is required by Caltrans, but it also states here that on October 10th, 2022, Caltrans issued an encroachment permit for the street improvements for plans for Highland and Rose. The plans depicted that and labeled improvements at to be constructed by the developer. So we also have to, and we also have to abide by what Caltrans issues. I understand that you have a difference of opinion of what our city manager and our city attorney has stated with you, but at the end of the day, there shouldn't be any discussion between a council member and yourself, because at the end of the day, it comes back to our city council for approval. And it would hinge your approval. That would actually prejudice the approval. So to ask us to be in a meeting and to start talking about numbers would be inappropriate. Number two, it would be better to work with our city staff. And in 2 years, 3 years ago, you were working with a different staff. This year, you're working with people I believe that are competent. I'm not wanting to argue with you, but at the end of the day, I think it is more better for us to work together and to approve this and reject this and move and expedite this and set a meeting. We could set the meeting up today, Mr. Mayor. We could set it up for our staff. We can make them available and we can make sure that they could get this done. But there's no reason to go, and I would rather not point fingers and talk about people individually. I would rather just get this process completed and just work our way through it. And I say this because at the end of the day, we are not going to get anything done by arguing. And I understand there are differences of opinion of our staff and your staff, but I think that at the end of the day, like the mayor stated, we all want your project to adhere. We all want your project to be successful. We all understand that the city of Selma in the past years have been very good to you, and you've been very good to the city. And I believe that, and I inspire that we're going to be doing this, but I would hope that we would all refrain from individual attacks and questioning people's integrity and work together to solve this issue professionally.
And so I would respond. I've been developing in Selma for over 40 years. I have never, in 40 years, under every city council that's been here, under every mayor that's ever been here, every other city manager, been told you can't talk to any of them. None of them are going to talk to you. I said, we just want to sit down and get it resolved. Oh no, we're not going to do that. You can't talk to anyone. Or your city attorney. Good luck.
Okay. Thank you for the discussion. Bring it back to council. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Second it,
Is there a second? Okay, and that's the second to reject the bids.
the rejected bids, but to instruct staff to work with Mr. Nelson immediately.
The
to start
modification, right? For the council, the staff to work with Mr. Nelson ASAP to expedite that process for the rebid process.
We will reach out tomorrow to schedule that point.
And to get that in writing to confirm the curb and gutter. Okay. Is it, could you call the roll, please? Councilman Trio.
To reject the claim.
Reject the bids with the modification by Councilmember Mendoza Navarro that that staff work with Mr. Nelson's development group to expedite the rebidding process and the agreement in writing between the two.
Thank you.
For the curb and gutters.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Okay, that was kind of an intense one. Let's take a 5-minute break and come back at 7:25.
Oh my gosh.
All right, why don't we all take our seats? We'll get started. And now we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is the discussion regarding city solid waste collection service requests for proposals.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As the council may recall, several council meetings ago, staff was instructed by the council to bring back, to place on the agenda a discussion item for the request for proposals that the council directed staff to issue, considering that the franchise agreement that we currently have with Waste Management is set to expire at the end of the fiscal year next year in 2024. And so it's imperative that the city start that process now to be able to identify a contractor for waste hauling services, to be able to give them enough lead time to, if it is a new contractor, to give them enough lead time to acquire equipment if necessary and make that transition as smooth as possible. So what you have before you is the exhibit, the draft RFP that we plan to issue as of tomorrow, unless there are any changes that take staff longer to make as a result of this discussion. But effectively what it highlights or what it entails is it really brings us into compliance for the most. I mean, the whole goal, one of the major goals of this RFP process is to have an agreement that not only brings us into compliance with existing state regulations through CalRecycle, but that is also flexible enough to be able to address new and upcoming legislation that at this point we're not able to foresee, but that we can incorporate with any contractor, whoever that contractor is. And so we're also looking at some additional minor changes that are not currently included in our franchise agreement. We are looking, what we plan to ask for is a more comprehensive way of collecting bulky items to do, citywide cleanups. There's, and in the past, the city council has had discussions about their wish to see potentially curbside pickup for junk collection, so that it doesn't end up in our alleys or on our streets or, what have you. There's also, specific information that's being requested in the RFP from bidders about, collection events and special events that the city coordinates and the service provided by the waste contractor to those events. There's quite a bit in here, but in general, it keeps a lot of the same aspects of our current agreement. The franchise agreement is still held at 10% unless the council wishes to change that. We are incorporating the changes required from SB 1383 with organics and food recycling. As you know, the council has passed amendments to our current ordinance with regard to food and edible recovery programs. But in general, what we are expecting in terms of a timeline, if we do end up issuing the RFP tomorrow, May 2nd, is that we plan to bring to the council a recommendation for a new contract on August 21st, after we've done on page 3 of the exhibit that you have in front of you. We have a tentative timeline which sets that recommendation to the city council by August 21st. The deadline for submittal of proposals would be June 30th. We do hope to have a draft agreement by the time that we have our mandatory pre-proposer conference on roughly around May 17th. So all the potential bidders will be able to see what the terms of the agreement would be. A lot of it is already included in this RFP, but we want to get that nailed down so that we can get the most dialed in bids as possible. But with this particular item, staff wanted to get feedback from the council about what are, other items that the council wishes to see in the RFP or in the new agreement, services that maybe are not being provided now, There is a stipulation for, an increase in street sweeping costs because those costs have gone up for the city. And so we're having to keep up as the city continues to grow, greater responsibility for maintaining our streets clear of debris and litter. But also one change that we are proposing with this RFP is that the new agreement, while it would still be a potential length of 10 years, the base length would be 7 years with the option of extending for 3 additional years in 1-year increments based on the performance of the selected contractor. So at this point, we are more than happy to listen to the council's feedback from the public about, what they see as the most important elements of a new contractor, and staff will incorporate that into the RFP and the agreement. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Does council have any questions or any comments for the city manager at this point before we go out to the public for comment?
Sorry, just a point of clarification. So the current provider, their contract expires in June of 24?
June 30th, 2024,
30th,
correct.
Okay, so because this is such a big project, the timeline spells out the reason for us going to bid so early is because it's just so many changes in the laws and just everything. And like you said, to prepare, because there are over 2,000 homes or 3,000 homes that they'll have to service plus businesses. And the other
If I could just add to that,
Oh, yeah,
point,
go ahead,
council
sorry.
member, one of the other reasons is because as a result of COVID and the supply chain issues, it's been very difficult to acquire new equipment. And garbage trucks are no exception. And so we want to give any potential new contractor that's awarded the amount of time needed to acquire those new equipment, because as part of this RFP, we are requiring that the equipment used is no older than a 2017 model. Useful life is about 10 to 12 years on this equipment as we understand it. And so having a 6-year, age on this equipment is adequate. So that's the main consideration, but also the longer we have to prepare for that transition, the better.
Yeah, and the transition would be regardless of whether the current provider gets awarded or a new provider gets awarded. They would still have to meet all of these requirements, the new equipment and all of that.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. This would apply to any vendor.
Perfect.
I have a question, more, looking at this RFP and, I'm in agreement. I think we should always entertain RFPs for any agency that we have on board because of the fact that we can go back and review. But the question I had, which I had back in, 2016 was, when we do this RFP, is it the city's responsibility or the provider's responsibility to look at the total homes and businesses, and I'm talking about the alleys in regards to how they manage to pick up the trash and how they manage to leave the dumpsters. When I speak that, I have a lot of business owners that have dumpsters in the back, and when the trash is picked up, they leave them in the middle of the alley, and we have to push them, to get by. Are we asking for the proposal, or are we asking for the provider to run an analysis on that to give us a pricing? And I say this because of the fact that, I'm not saying that I want to ask for the provider to provide more service and not charge. What I'm saying is that I think an adequate discussion in regards to the needs of our community and the needs of the businesses require a cost, and it has to pass on to the customer. So when I talk about that, I'm talking about I don't know if we've had that kind of discussion, and my entertainment of discussion is that a discussion that you've thought about, or that's something that we need to be discussing for a future RFP, or where are we at?
Yeah, that's certainly a point that we can discuss with all the proposers or specifically whoever we recommend for award. That's definitely a city code enforcement matter that we need to work more closely with our contractor to address. The placement of the bins in the alleys and also with new development, to make sure that the trash enclosures are being built to standard and that we follow up on those standards. So it is something we can address and it'd be interesting to find out from the different proposers how they've addressed it in other communities, if they do serve other communities. But absolutely, I think that's an issue. I think we've also discussed with our current contractor Waste Management, about moving away from, alley service and just doing curbside just because of the issues that the garbage trucks have navigating through the alleys with, utility poles and, other utilities in the alley. And just kind of the issue with, theft of cans and all those and carts and that sort of thing that comes along with alley service. So those are all things that we plan to discuss.
Just a question on the performance bond. So the city, per the check register, seems to pay 125, 130,000, six figures every month to the current contractor. Is $150,000 enough in terms of the amount of contractual rope that the provider would have in the event that they would face financial difficulties? Or would the city be able to act pretty quickly to generate a replacement if they would need to, if there was a problem, the economy tanked and maybe a provider tanked, something like that?
That's a good point. I think we can work with the city attorney and our risk management agency to figure out a more adequate performance bond amount.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, we'll go to the people now. Would anybody have any comments at this time? Please come on up.
Leslie Nelson. Again, I would like to just reiterate how I work for a dental office, and I find that Waste Management does all the things that they're supposed to be doing in our trash enclosures. They push them back in the way they're supposed to go in. We have ours locked. If someone breaks into it, which a lot of times that happens, they're out there fairly quickly with new locks or new tops. And something was mentioned about possibly having curbside, like they do. Is it like they do in Fresno, where people put their things out on the streets and then they come along? Is that how that works?
That's one option that is being considered.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, isn't that a concern too? Because I know in Fresno, I've seen people rummaging through, and it's almost like a yard sale. They're going in and they're taking what they want, and so it just kind of spreads the trash out further. So I don't know if that's something that we would consider doing, just because that's what they're doing. I'm not real sure how that all works, but I just want to say how much Waste Management, they are very good with their community service. They help with our cleanup campaign. Again, their drivers are very friendly, and they seem to get on the problem fairly quickly. So I don't know how that curbside works. I just think for Selma, I think that would be a little bit more people digging through and just making it worse than it, could possibly be. But thank you very much.
Mayor, if I may address the resident's comment, thank you, Ms. Nelson. What we have in the draft RFP right now is for bidders to propose the cost, or to include in their proposal twice a year a bulky item pickup, which limits it to 4 items. So you'd only be able to have up to 4 items on your curbside for collection twice a year whenever you call. And then a one-time community cleanup event where residents would take their items to a collection event that we have throughout the year. Thank you.
So that one time would replace the current twice annual cleanup days where the residents take it to the contractor and Fowler. Okay. And then a bulky items three times a year.
Twice a year. Up to 4 items per pickup.
4 big items.
Yep.
Okay. And they could put that in their house, next to their house, their
curbside. Correct.
Okay.
If I may add, sir, my apologies. If I may add, the council can, include other alternatives or can request to include other alternatives in the RFP if you so wish. If that's not something that, if you'd like to look at maybe just a once a year or just keep the current, two or the biannual cleanup event. One of the difficulties of our current setup is that, Fowler, it's actually outside of Fowler, past Fowler in Fresno County, right now where Waste Management has one of the events. And it's a pretty far drive for folks, especially if you don't have a pickup truck or something to load up your items. We are conducting one cleanup event at the Selma Unified Bus Yard. But it is council's option to include that, to maintain that model.
Doug Kessler, 1486 Nelson. I just want to talk to you a little bit about, if you remember, most of you were not on the council last time, but I was talking to ex-councilman Avalos. Anytime you go to bid, you're going to get a low ball bid. Okay, and if you remember what happened last time, we got a low ball, or with Selma Disposal, we got a low ball bid, and it was a disaster. The first year was great. I believe our rates went down, and then the next year they couldn't keep up with them, and they went up higher than I believe anybody would have ever done. So I've gone out and talked to 246. I did not do any businesses, people, and I don't think anybody that I talked to had. The only problem was one person said that they come too early in the morning. That was the only complaint we got. Most people are happy with what it was. Didn't care. So why do we want to change something that's broken? If there's things that needed to be negotiated, sit down and negotiate with them, see if they can do them, and then go out to bid if they don't do it. But every time you go, recently the school district, $3.1 million of overrides on bids because it was a low ball bid, and now to get it done, it's a construction override. That's what's going to happen here. And I don't think if it's broken, you should stay with what's working. Thank you.
Jim Avalo, 1701 Dinuba. I was responsible for a shopping center, and I have no complaints on the job site where I was responsible. Waste Management took care of the issues. Was there any problems I had? Not just with the entire tenants in the area that are responsible for, and they took care of the issues right away. Even when behind the grocery store, people were complaining, issues. The bin was kind of smelling. I just called Waste Management, and they took care of the problem right away. It's like that within an hour. So there's an old saying, "It ain't broken, don't fix it." So far I cannot, over the years, and being on the council, I dealt with two companies, and I cannot complain about Waste Management and one bid. And I've heard about this gentleman in Fresno. Nothing bad. It's okay. I know.
Thank you.
Just talking to make sure. We see my head, but all I gotta say, guys, I would sit at the table, really sit down and hammer out what these issues are, and the cost factors and everything, and what you guys need, what you're looking for. I look in Fresno with a curbside pickup, but people take out their trash and make it a pile. I was the other day, but the only problem is get a lot of the homeless going scavenging. Okay. And you see them traveling with the junk. I guess man's junk is another man's treasure, they say. But there's some issues there. So guys, I would curbside pickups. You would have to, if you do it, I would designate them areas. Okay, designated areas, big beds like we have here in Selma. big empty lots, whatever. We do have in our city, we just have to ask the property owners and we locate them. And we'll just be smart at it. So that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening again. Again, Harvey Sang from 7425 East Dinuba. It seems like the ones on Dinuba, we have nothing to do but complain all the time, I guess. Three of us from Dinuba Avenue today. Anyway, I stand by what I said earlier about waste management. They're obviously a professional company. They have a company that has a good reputation, just like many other professionals. I'm sure they're going to be, they have been around and they should be around. I mean, there's a big size company. It's not like they got a nickel and dime operation like some of the other, the doc had said it, and I think Leslie and Jim both mentioned that. Come in low, get the bid, and then all of a sudden have issues performing on a professional level. My experience with my rural service is excellent. And if I'm speaking on behalf of our temple down here on where Rose and Highland is, that temple, we've had generally very good service from them, very good timely service, professional drivers. And really, I don't think we've had too many problems. If we've ever had some problems, we've generally worked it out or talked with each other. It's been an open lane. And as I said it earlier, you know, you have 3 days of a program that we hold every year, 25,000 people. Just imagine that's the size of Selma to be picked up in a matter of 2 days. Between them and ourselves, our own volunteers and their drivers and their hard-fast duty, and also willingness to come to our temple on Mondays and Tuesdays to eliminate all that or pick up all that's phenomenal. So I give them kudos for that, for all the work they do with the other community partners. And I stand with what Leslie has said and the doc has said and my buddy Jim has said. I think it behooves us certainly to go out and get bids. Not a bad deal. That's enterprise. That's American way of doing business. But everything that you want and ask for the bid, you have to analyze. But more important, at the end of the day, who are you dealing with and what are you dealing with and what's the track record? More than anything else, you're going to have to base your decision not on how cheap or how thrifty or how frugal it is, because you may end up paying a price. You may. At the end of the day, what do they give and what do you get in return and what the track record? And I'll leave it be at that. Okay. Again, thanks everyone for the indulgence. Appreciate it. Do the best. Bye-bye.
Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm Sandra Persley here on behalf of Waste Management. I'm the Area Director of Public Sector Services for WM, which is a fancy title. It means I oversee our municipal contracts for the Central Valley, Central Coast, all of Southern California. I'm here tonight just to introduce myself, let you know that we are a proud partner to Selma. We've worked together with you since the acquisition of Selma Disposal in 2016. Since then, seems the world has gone crazy. We've been through a lot together with the just the transition with an acquisition and that process and getting to know the city and your customers. And then shortly after, we had the recycling crisis, and then changes in regulations that impacted many of your businesses with AB 341, AB 1826, which was mandatory recycling and mandatory organics recycling for businesses. We had the pandemic, can't forget that, global supply chain issues, which were mentioned earlier, and then most recently SB 1383, which is the major change in law impacting how materials are handled here in the state, mostly organics or food waste for your residents and businesses. So over the years, we've worked closely with staff. We've been through all of those challenges. There's been a lot of transitions with your staff. I think we've remained steady with our commitment to the city, with our level of service. There have been hiccups. I don't claim to have been perfect every day. We do touch a lot of customers, but our goal is to get it right the first time each and every day. We recently provided a proposal to the city that offered full compliance with SB 1383 without any change in rates. It does address, and we're willing to discuss or expand the curbside bulky offering that was mentioned earlier. It does have the cleanups, all of the services you have today, plus everything needed to comply with SB 1383 at no additional cost. I would like to mention, because of the equipment shortage, all of our vehicles are fairly new. I believe 2000, well, really recent. I don't want to make up the year, but they're fairly new equipment. It's already in place, ready to serve you. I would like to ask tonight that we have a short window. I understand that time is of the essence, and you had a really fair question earlier about why start now with the process? And honestly, I understand the need to get going, and I would ask that we have a little bit of time to continue to evaluate the proposal before releasing the RFP. I'd also like to acknowledge some of the concerns that were brought to my attention, which is why I'm here tonight, to let you know that I've personally addressed some of those recent concerns, and I'm open to meeting with any and all of you, not at the same time, to discuss any of those in more detail. So thank you for the opportunity. I, along with our local leadership team, are here just to thank you and express our desire to serve you now and hopefully well into the future. Thank you.
Teresa Sala, 1701 Dinuba Avenue. An RFP is just asking other companies to give us their input. It's not saying that Waste Management can't put in a bid also. I think that doing a new RFP is advantageous for the city just because we have so many more things that we want to add, and it's in writing. Right now, those aren't included. They're saying that they can update the contract, but what if they can't update it to what we want? So having an RFP, you can put everything in there that you want at that time. It's giving them some competition. If they're going to do a bid, then to make it worth our while to accept that bid, to make it and to include all the new legislation, things that are going to be happening. Yes, they have taken those things into account, but things can change from here to next year, costs involved. And then for them to have to come back and ask for more money right away would not look good for the city or for them. So having a brand new contract with everything in it that we would like to see all at once and giving other people an opportunity. Competition is a good thing.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. My name is Justin Honsinger, and I'm the Regional Manager for the Public Sector team here at WM. I'd like to start off by saying that we are a proud partner, and we appreciate the opportunity to serve this community of Selma. At WM, we are serious about providing quality and reliable service to our customers. I am grateful to be here tonight and listen to several of these residents talk about our quality service. That means a lot to me, and it means a lot to WM. Not only safety is number one to us, it's delivering quality service to these residents. I'd like to introduce you to our local management. Sitting right behind you, a lot of you guys probably work within the community, Michael Rivera. Also, you have Brian Rogers, our district manager of operations. It also takes a team. We are a corporation, but we're ran locally. And we also have the resources of that corporation and to give us that sustainable measure. And that is what's important, to have that consistency and that sustainable measure. It was also stated in here about an RFP and the fair practice. We all know at the end of the day that the ratepayer, that's pass-through cost. We've already given a proposal to council that identified all the concerns that were read out this evening. So again, I'm here in hopes that we can have a sit-down conversation, go through our proposal that we provided prior to this conversation tonight, and continue that partnership that we take a lot of pride of servicing your city of Selma. Thank you all for your time.
City Manager, did we get a copy of that proposal? I'm not familiar with what the gentleman is
Yeah, so what I believe is being referred to is the proposal that is separate from the contract, which just brings us in our existing contract into compliance with SB 1383 regulations with regard to organics, recycling, and food waste. That's something that needs to be done anyway. Originally, Waste Management proposed that we incorporate these amendments into our existing franchise agreement contingent upon an extension of the existing franchise agreement. The city was not amenable to that because the direction has always been clear from council that we need to go to bid for a new 10-year agreement. And so my feedback to Waste Management's team was, please submit a revised proposal that it is not contingent upon an extension of agreement, but that rather makes us compliant with Cal Recycle regulations. And so that was received a couple of weeks ago. Staff has been working with Cal Recycle to make sure that the proposal that they submitted is going to meet the requirements. So that's a completely separate matter from actually extending the agreement. This is the proposal that they're referring to is needs to be done regardless of who our contractor is.
Will we be seeing the new proposal?
Oh, yeah, that'll come. And so that's going to come probably at the next meeting, if not the following meeting, because there's also a rate increase, the annual rate increase that Waste Management that is built into the existing agreement, just to keep up with inflation. And so at that time, we'll also present the revised proposal to council for the amendments to the agreement.
That'll show what the gentleman was talking about in terms of the rate extension.
Well, with the revised proposal, there is no extension to the agreement as a condition of that proposal, because that needs to be done anyway, regardless of whether the current franchise agreement is extended or not.
Okay, so we won't see what he originally referenced.
No, you will. Well, there's a gentleman, Josh Mann, that I've been working with. He's the one that submitted the revised proposal, and that's what will come to council. And so that's basically what we need to adopt to come into compliance with SB 13.
Because the reason I ask is just it might shade my opinion of whether we want to go out to bid as an individual if they came in with a really good offer, to extend. That's why I'm my ears perked up when I heard that.
The offer is not based on extension. So the offer is just, here's what we need to do to get into compliance without any changes to the rate structure, period. That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
just compliance had nothing
Just
to do with the
compliance.
rate extension.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there is no rate increase proposed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments from the public at this time? Anybody like to say anything?
Good evening. I would likely be one of the potential bidders in the event you decide to put this out to bid. My name is Richard Cagley with Cagley Environmental, and I'd like to introduce myself.
City manager can pass it on. Thank you.
That flyer just gives a little history of my family and who we are in the Central Valley, but I just want to put a couple statements on the record. Once again, my name is Richard Caglia, and in the event that you had an opportunity for us to bid, we would bid your RFP. The name of our company that you see there is Caglia Environmental. We are a local solid waste recycling collection company that's providing services throughout the valley for nearly 90 years. We keep jurisdictions, residential customers, commercial customers, school districts in compliance with local and state regulations. One of the hottest topics that you've heard tonight is now the state's new recycling organics law, or SB 1383. We are implementing best practices for solutions and regularly have various platforms for communication for your residents and businesses to understand. Caglia Environmental has one of the most advanced recycling facilities in California and have made a tremendous investment in diverting material from the landfills. In fact, I'm proud to say that some of the newest technologies that we employ in a partnership with a company by the name of AMP Robotics that's tied to a neural network helps us recycle products that the human eye typically cannot see. And any new information that's introduced into the stream of commerce allows us to recycle material that would not otherwise be recycled. I truly believe that our safety record, the quality employees of which many live here in Selma, and our superior customer service is the benchmark of why the Cagley family of companies have been successful for over 100 years throughout the Central Valley. We look forward to working with you, actually becoming more of a part of your community as well, and being another slice of the Selma pie that you all like to talk about. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate being able to introduce myself and my family's business. And like I said, in the event you do decide to go out to bid, we would look forward to the opportunity of at least submitting our proposal.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. My name is Brian Rogers. I'm the District Manager for Waste Management. I was born in Fresno and have lived in the Valley the vast majority of my life. The Valley will always be home to me. I've had the pleasure of working with Waste Management for almost 9 years. I started out as a driver serving the Selma Unified School District and the surrounding area, then evolving into management, and then currently moving into the district manager role over the past several years. This has given me the opportunity to make more positive impact daily with operations and events such as the Sikh Parade, the Raisin Festival, community cleanups, and many other events. I oversee nearly 40 employees at our Fresno facility, some of which are the drivers who service the community of Selma where they reside. They are residents of this city. While during COVID, we faced many challenges like everyone else does. The hardworking men and women of WM take much pride in the essential work that we do for the city of Selma regarding compliance and our commitment to the core values of safety, service, and savings. I do look forward to the opportunity to build stronger relationships in the city and proactively look for opportunities to better serve the city of Selma, not just for the short term, but for many years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online on the phone? Thank you. With that, we'll bring it back to council. This is a discussion item tonight. It's not a action item.
Well, if I may, Mayor, if there's any feedback, either tonight or later on that the council wants to give me as to what to include or what to change in the RFP, if any. My main concern was making sure that the council was okay with, the term of the agreement, 7 years plus 3 additional 1-year extensions. If there were any other ideas about the, bulky item pickup and the collection, the cleanup events. There was a comment tonight about, the timing of the service. The ordinance in the municipal code allows the city manager to work with the contractors to set the time. In the RFP, we say 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., but we can, change those as well. But yeah, those kinds of things. If any of the council has any feedback, I'd be more than happy to incorporate that.
Thank you. I just got this. We didn't have a lot of time to review it, so I'm not all that familiar with it. So I definitely would like more because this is a major contract that they say that societies run on trash pickup and refrigeration. So this is really important for our city. So I'd like to study this more, but when there's a potential for a new vendor, definitely the performance bond. That's a really important issue. I appreciate your following up on that. Also, just one thing that jumped out at me was the timeline on it. Just given the inflationary times and everything that's been going on to lower inflation, it seems like it's an accelerated timeline, like it's going to be decided in August pretty much of 2023. And what happens if the contract is decided in 2023 and inflation keeps getting tamed and pricing goes back down? Because I'm sure some of that's going to be factored into the bid. Also, if and it may very well be WM or Waste Management that gets the bid again, they win again, or it may not. If it's a new vendor, how, I'm just wondering, Waste Management's going to have quite a few months left to go on their contract, and they're very professional. I wouldn't say that anything would happen. It's just that level of service to innovate may not be there if there's that big timeline on that. So is that August decision date set in stone, or can that be moved back, or is that flexible? What are we looking at?
That date is based on a period of 60 days for the RFP window. So between May 2nd tentatively to June 30th, that gives us roughly 60 days for bidders to submit their proposals, and then everything else kind of falls in line based on that timeline. As we say in the RFP document, those timelines could change. You never know, what may happen. Maybe at the pre-proposer conference, we get some comments or some feedback from the potential bidders about things that we could add, and then that would trigger maybe addendums or additional follow-ups to the RFP. So it's a little fluid. But as I mentioned before, we have an agreement with WM until the end of the fiscal year. I have no concerns that Waste Management with their professionalism and service to the community, that they would do anything to lower the level of service until the end of their agreement. But at the same time, we want to be able to give anybody who could potentially propose that lead time, that they would feel assured that they'd be able to acquire the equipment to serve the community as best as possible, and to be able to meet the requirements of the RFP with the equipment that's being required.
Another thing, since we're just kind of 8 miles high at this point, we're not really hitting details, but has the city ever looked at providing its own garbage service, its own trash pickup, and how much that would cost?
Well, I can't speak for previous administrations, whether that's ever been analyzed. Since I've been here, we have not looked at that as a staff. But it's something certainly that we could, if the council desires and gives us direction to do so.
Because I know when I got on, this was 10 years. I mean, we were just going into it with Selma Disposal, which, morphed into Waste Management, given the problems or the issues that Selma Disposal faced, as were discussed earlier. So I haven't really seen an opportunity like this, for the city to explore all alternatives. It might be interesting just to see if other cities of Selma's size, and I don't know how many there are, if any, who do provide their own in-house service for that. And I don't even know if it would be feasible.
Sure.
My last item would be in terms of the timeline and the citizen committee. I found it interesting that in section 4, all proposals will be reviewed by a review panel selected by the city. Can you expand on that a little bit? Who will be part of the review panel?
That has not been established.
Okay.
Yeah, but we do plan to incorporate as many stakeholders, diverse stakeholders as possible.
Will you circle around with the council again and bring this back when it gets closer to decision time or RFP time, or how will the council be kept informed on this?
For the panel?
Yeah.
Sure, I can absolutely, I don't know if that needs to be a closed session item or what have you, but certainly we can keep the council updated on the process as it moves along.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments at this time?
Yeah, excuse me.
Sorry, sir. You get one bite of the apple. Sorry. We don't do 2 comments. If you would like to wait till oral communications at the end, you can weigh in again. Did you just have a brief comment?
No, it's just regarding the clarification of whether the RFP is going to hit the street tomorrow or not.
Does council have a problem with Mr. Caglia asking that question? Go ahead. What was your question again, Mr. Caglia?
Given some of the discussions that you're currently having regarding the existing provider and some of the things that you would like to see that you're asking for, clear direction on whether or not you're actually going to issue the RFP tomorrow or not.
Okay. I don't think this is an action item. This is just a discussion item. I think the proposals are going to move forward tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll depend on staff's ability to incorporate all the requested items in a time frame for tomorrow. It could potentially be pushed until Wednesday or Thursday later this week.
I think the only reason is because we received this and we want to review it a little more and make sure that it has some of our information and make sure that we iron out some of our concerns or additions.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for a good discussion. We'll move forward from here and we'll continue to revisit this item. Thank you. All right, with that, we'll move on to our public hearings. We don't have any tonight scheduled, so then we'll move on to our departmental report. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just one quick update. And I wish that Councilmember Guerra was here because she's been asking about the status of the street sign replacement project that Public Works has begun. And I just wanted to bring an example of some of the street signs that you'll start seeing up around town. I think the goal is to replace at least 10 street signs by the end of this week. As you know, our Public Works Department is really stretched thin. They're going to be doing some overtime to try to catch up to those replacements. But I'll show you in a minute. But what we decided is that all these street signs will have the block numbers on them. I think a lot of the streets do not currently have that. There'll be bigger fonts to make them more readable, and the reflective properties that they'll meet standards, because currently a lot of our street signs do not meet standards and just are simply not readable. So I'm going to hold up this one of the signs that Public Works has created for us. So they look a little bigger in person, but when they're on the poles, they're actually a little smaller. So thank you. That's all I have.
Good job. Thank you. All right, City Attorney?
No updates for me.
Thank you. Deputy City Manager Baines?
Nothing to report tonight.
Deputy City Manager Keen?
Report tonight.
Community Services Director?
Good evening. Again, I'm sure you guys already got my update, but just I did want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Cho. Last Friday, we celebrated Arbor Day here in the city by planting a tree out in Lincoln Park, which was very exciting. And I'd also like to thank our Public Works crews, because in addition to that, they also planted a total of 14 trees. We lost about 8 to 10 during the storm, so it was very nice to get 14 more trees in the ground. So big thanks to our Public Works Department for that. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation earlier. It's really good. Fire Chief Peterson?
Thank you. Just one quick announcement, kind of a save the date, May 23rd, the evening of May 23rd over at Lincoln Park, PD and Fire will be doing our next badge pinning ceremony.
Oh, great.
So
what time?
Official invitations will come out in the coming weeks. And it's either, we were having some discussion about that, it's either 5:30 or 6 o'clock.
Okay, got it.
In that evening.
Thank you. Hopefully it won't be raining or tornadoes or sleeting.
And City Manager just did clarify for me, it was 5:30.
Oh, 5:30. Okay, great. Okay. Thank you. Got it. All right. City Clerk, Public Information Officer.
Mayor, council member, members of the public, I have an update for the Caltrans work on State Route 99. We received an update from Caltrans that mentioned that all ramps are currently open. Their contractors working in the median between 2nd Street and Manning Avenue. The contractor has indicated that beginning May 17th, the following closures will take place on northbound State Route 99, the northbound State Route 99 off ramp to State Route 43/Floral Avenue will be closed. Forgive me, I have to get this correctly because I've said this several times today and it's a lot. Also, the Floral Avenue on ramp to northbound State Route 99 will be closed. Regarding the southbound State Route 99, the only changes that will occur will be the southbound lanes of State Route 99 between Manning Avenue and 2nd Street will be reduced from 3 lanes to 2 lanes. So that is consistent with what they've been saying. The only changes is that it's been pushed. So we'll start seeing a change on May 17th. Also, there will be Stillman Street and the Stillman Street and High Street road improvement project is scheduled to begin next Monday, May 8th. So the roadway reconstruction of Stillman Street from Chandler Street to McCall Avenue and High Street from Stillman Street to Wright Street. So the scope of work on that project if includes complete removal and reconstruction of the paved streets. A portion of concrete curb gutter and valley gutters are to be removed and replaced to improve the storm water drainage. Portions of public sidewalks and several curb ramps are included to be removed and replaced to address accessibility issues. And just a reminder, the Golden State Boulevard project is continued to be delayed to mid-July. I know those questions have continued to come along. So for any other questions, I can answer.
Okay, and you're getting reports from who at the county on the Golden State Corridor project? Are you going to talk?
I am getting reports from their engineer
Okay, good.
and the county and our engineer as well. We're all
County's
working
running
together.
that job, right? Because I was asking Caltrans and they're saying the county's running it. Okay, got
That
it.
is correct.
Thank you. Sergeant Guzman?
Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, council reports. Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
I don't have much other than in Madeira hosted a Welcoming America and Welcoming Australia project. Basically what it was a collaboration about how the two countries are dealing with immigration integration and its priority, especially in the Central Valley and other parts of the world, especially in the rural region of the United States, like I said, in Australia. It was a really informative discussion. One of the things that they mentioned was California has, instead of migration, they have where they're exiting. What is it called? Immigration. Yes, immigration. And yeah, so everybody's leaving basically California. And so that's putting a hindrance on, the Central Valley and our just our workforce basically. And so that was really interesting. And then other than that, I missed a lot of the events that we had. It was sad, but my family and I traveled to Mexico City over the last meeting. So we've kind of been doing some pilgrimage out there. And so it was nice. It was a nice break from here. It was hot a couple days, but that's all I have.
Okay. Councilmember Trujillo.
My highlight was, attended the Central Valley Training Facility graduation. And one of the individuals that was graduating was a female, and she was from Selma, which was the highlight of our day. Really, really impressed me that there was a lot of graduates. And we've been going to these and it's just looking like it's growing. So really happy to see this program, keep going. The other one is, I missed Amy, I passed by and I missed it because I had a meeting. I seen you guys out there planting trees and, these events, I just want to state to our staff that, every day that you guys are plugging along, you guys are making an impact in our community. We always have, we have the pros, the cons, and you guys just keep plugging away. And I really want you guys to know that I appreciate everything you guys do. At the same time, I want to commend our city mayor for carrying a professional dialogue and a really important subject, because our city believes in our community, believes in our staff, and believes in our outlook to our community. Staff, keep plugging along, keep being professional, keep doing what you got to do, because we as the city council need to prevail. We need to make sure our city goes long-term for the future. I'll just end it with this. I'll be out of the country for about 28 days, so I'll miss the next city council meeting. But aside of that, thank you guys.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Joe.
Yeah, luckily, I did attend that tree planting, and it was a really good tree because it was a Chinese ash, I think. Perfect tree for me. So that was perfect when I walked in on that one. I did attend the Kings County Basin Water Agency, and they adopted their budget for this year. And basically they take care of all the irrigation, the different water irrigation in the whole different county besides Fresno. They got Tulare and Kern also. There was a city hall, they did invite people over to see the new park the other night. I did attend that. This kind of reminds you, if you build it, they would come. The pickleball people were all here. They saw on that map, there was a pickleball court. So that was good. I did attend the Central Valley Trading Center also. This is the 8th class. Every class takes about 12 weeks, is really grueling. So they've, I think, graduated over 120 and 65% are employed. My Lions Club, we did finally get to celebrate with, see, 4th graders from Eric White School. These are the kids that when we had a project last year for Christmas for our veterans. They got the most socks. The room, that classroom donated the most socks from all of Eric White. We had over 400 socks for our veterans, and that was really good. So we promised whoever had the most socks in that room, we gave them a pizza party. So we finally gave it to them. They were very happy. So let's see. I think that's it.
Thanks. Thank you. I attended a SKF draft budget meeting, and we had a comment at the last council meeting asking about SKF and about the status of diagrams from Mr. Franco over there. And I did bring that up at my last meeting, and there is a new general manager, Veronica Casares, and she's going to be coming to each city to do a presentation, and she will be addressing the question of sewer capacity in Selma. So thank you for that issue. She'll be coming and doing a rollout here to all 3 cities, Selma, Kingsburg, and Fowler here before long. The Fresno County Rural Transit Agency Maintenance Facility groundbreaking occurred. That was amazing event. The Central Valley High-Speed Rail Training graduation, that was another amazing event. You know, so many people coming in, and you know, they don't get paid for that. They come in, they invest in themselves. They bet on themselves to do better in the future by going for training. And I've met several people at these graduations that, you know, they go to school for 8 hours or 7 hours, 7 to 2, and then they go to work. I mean, and then they go home and they have a couple kids, and just amazing. These are heroes, and these are the people who are our future. And I know we're getting people who are leaving California, but look at some of these folks who are coming and working so hard, and they're going to be our future, and they're going to sustain us and bring us forward. And I have a lot of hope. I love seeing that. At the same time, I mean, they're getting hands-on education, getting into the trades. The new Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro, his first official act was to open 65,000 government jobs to people without a college degree. I mean, in this era of over-credentialism and under-experience, these things return us to expertise and experience rather than just a piece of paper, because I think you can get educated by the school of, education, and I think you can get educated by life. And I think they're both equally as effective. And I don't think that a bias should be given to one or the others. And you really saw that on display at the Central Valley training. I had an email from a gentleman from the other Gurdwada. His name is Mandeep Singh. He's a Selma planning commissioner, and he sent me an email asking for a proclamation recognizing his temple. As everybody knows, or many people know, they've done a number of food giveaways. They did it in December, and they also did it to benefit Officer Carrasco. Is there any way we could look at honoring them in the future? And I can give you this email, city manager, so you have contact information if you need it. But they've done a lot of really good things for our community. It'd be nice to recognize them. Okay, and I attended a COG meeting and an FCRTA meeting, and the issue at COG, they talked about the award of the TOD this year, the 11th cycle. I just want to say, encourage Selma to go for it next year. Hopefully we'll be able to get in the mix for it next year because it's that pot of money. And Fowler got something for sidewalks this year. So hopefully that'll be a resource for us in the future. Thank you. Does the community have anything they'd like to say before we adjourn for the evening? Come on up.
Jim Avalo, 1701 Dinuba. I attended the groundbreaking for the ROTs, maintenance facility. Well deserved, guys. That's tax money for the city of Selma. A+, and also, I'm gonna thank, Waste Management does a great job at the senior McCall Village programs, pick up the trash. And also, I'm gonna talk about the police department. Police department, I'm proud of you guys. Ever since we lost one of your own, I know now, I see you guys on patrol. I know that now from now on, you guys don't stop one vehicle by yourself. Now there's more officers at the scene to alleviate some of those issues that might possibly happen in the future. Great job. And also I want to thank the fire department for their hard work, what they do, and also trying to get on their ambulance. Thank you very much for you're out there saving lives and what you guys do. And also city departments of City of Selma hardworking behind the scenes. I don't care who you are. I thank you guys. All right. Thank you. City council up there, your job is to make sure the city runs correctly and smooth and generate tax money for the city of Selma, streamline it. I know there's issues, every issue comes about, but we can sometimes streamline them, sit at the table, hash it out. I don't care who it is. So sometimes you got to put your differences aside and sit at the table and figure it out who's got the better plan. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Anybody else? Have anybody on the phone or online? All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We're adjourned.